Deery, CEO of the Galway Chamber of Commerce, is concerned that some Galway businesses aren't taking up available financial supports available to them to aid the recovery following lockdown. And a number of businesses, Kenny, haven't availed of what's there for them. Why?
But quite a number have, Keith, and just look at the figures first, and I'll run into potential whys in a second. The Restart grant was brought out as part of the July stimulus, and that was amounts between 2 and 10,000 euro, Keith. And in Galway City, it was City Council deemed about 2,500 businesses to be eligible for that pot of funding, and yet only a little over 1,000 received funding from it. So we're talking only about 40% of those businesses actually applied for that funding. And it's really important that we had been messaging right the way along, and some businesses, Keith, were concerned they may have had a rates liability in 2019, but they didn't pay the liability. So, for example, some were discounting themselves, saying, I won't qualify. But actually you do. As long as you had some sort of a rateable liability within 2019, or you're in a commercially rateable premises, you're entitled to apply. And I think some had a fear that their tax clearance wasn't in order, and that was going to be problematic, and some just have a fear of form filling. But I cannot, and I did this myself over the weekend actually, because in addition to the Restart grant, Keith, and those 1,000 businesses that got payouts, they got a little over 5 million, which means if you were to apply the same averages, 7 million was missed in the first round of the Restart grant. And we now have the Restart Plus. And what that means is extra money. So Leo Varadkar announced it a couple of weeks ago. And this, for those who applied initially, Keith, they're actually automatically going to be written to by the council to say, listen, there's a second wave of funding coming and you'll get somewhere between 4 and 25,000. But the message this morning, Keith, is really important. For the 1,500 businesses that didn't apply in the first phase, they're not automatically going to be included. So we really need them to be encouraged, be it family members listening or the business owners themselves. This is a simple application. There's about 25 questions, which sounds daunting, but a lot of them are yes, no, my turnover was reduced by X amount between April and June. This is my rates number. This is my bank account number. Fairly simple, straightforward stuff. And Keith, any cafe owners or restaurateurs will serve a lot of teas and coffees to get between 4 and 25,000, depending on where they are on the trajectory. For they've got a lot of effort to get that sort of money, and we really don't want people to miss it. So as a chamber, one of the bits we're saying to many businesses, and some, Keith, in the past, let's say the scope of those included in the last scheme, you were capped off at 50 employees. Now it's up to 250 employees. So actually there's more than 1,500 eligible to apply for this in Galway, and we just want to make sure that they apply for it and do it this week. Don't wait for weeks. Don't put it on the long finger, because this is really important money. Okay, some are saying it's insignificant, but do you know what? You'll do a fair bit. As I say, if you're in the hospitality industry or in the tourism space, you'll wear a lot of shoe leather to take in somewhere between 4 and 25,000.
But it's there for you. I mean, if you do have questions, I know you're looking after the chamber members, but 091 563536 as well.
Absolutely.
But don't not apply for it. Apply for it. If you've paid rates, or you haven't paid them, but you've been billed for rates, just you're the person that can apply for this. So what you need to do is fill out the form, 25 questions. They're not that onerous on you. You can get them done. Your accountant can help you if you need figures from there, if you're not good at filling out forms. But just get the forms in is the most important thing. For those that did apply, the first 1,000, so they will be getting communication back on that.
They'll be written to, as I understand, quite a chunk of them have already been written to by the finance team in the local authority, just to take a declaration and return it. And even if they got the basic 2,000 the last time around, they'll automatically get the 4,000 this time around. And depending on what their rates bill, it'll tier up there. But there's a cap at the moment set at 25,000. And Keith, while I'm talking on funding, there's also the Fáilte Ireland adaptation grants have come out. And again, people say, oh God, this is another laborious task. It's not, to be fair. If you go onto the Fáilte Ireland website, there's a COVID portal, and for anyone in tourism, hospitality, any aspect or anything that touches the visitor stroke service industry, there's amounts of between 5 and 15,000 there to be accessed as well. So for some businesses in those industries this week, please just take the time, or ask one of your staff members to take the time, and if they don't know what they're doing, let them answer as much as they can and keep shouting questions at you to get through it. And if they need help even with the process, please reach out to the chamber, because we're exercised that these monies are drawn down. Because do you know what, Keith? You know, we're preparing budget submissions at the moment, and it's something I want to give mention to as well. But it's very hard to be lobbying government saying businesses need support and things are acutely difficult, which we know they are. But then it's very easy for someone in a department to turn around and say, well, do you know what, there was, I won't say free money because it's taxpayers' money and it's money that was paid for over the years, but there was money available for businesses to draw down, and they didn't access it. So really are things that desperate? And I think that's the bit we just want to avoid. So it's really important that the call to action today, certainly from Galway Chamber perspective, and also at a national level, this is problematic, but we're dealing with the Galway matters, is there's at least 1,500 businesses that have the potential to draw somewhere between 4 and 25 grand, and let's do it. Let's apply it this week. The City Council are anxious to process this money. It's coming from central government funding. It's not coming out of their coffers. And I know certainly the system initially was a little clunky and the processes were a little slow. New software is at play now. It's far more automated, and I know the team within the local authority are actually pleased with the way that they're progressing it. They just want more applications.
Okay.
So that's very much a call to action, Keith. And as I say, for us in budget negotiations, and that's the other call to action I have for businesses while I'm on a roll this week, is we in Chamber have been working with our colleagues nationally, trying to figure out the best positions to put forward for what will be an exceptionally important budget in October. But we want to hear, and we're launching a programme of consultation between this and next week within members. We want to hear what the Galway issues are, what businesses in Galway are looking for in the budget. We'll be engaging with some of the larger accountancy bodies. We look forward to submissions from many, be you members of the Chamber or otherwise. I think it's important we get as many opinions on board so that we have the best presentation going forward, not just from Galway but from the west of Ireland, as to what we need in this budget.
Okay, 091563536, or just go onto the Galway Chamber website and get further details from there. That 40% figure, if you could get that up to 70-80%, would send a clear message straight back indeed to government as well. So that's the key message.
It would also mean, like, the first round of funding was at lower levels and we missed out on 7.5 million. If that trend continues, it's been doubled now. So Galway businesses will be missing 15 million in money that was the most uncomplicated money I've seen being able to access. And being honest, I've experienced a lot of funding pots over the years, and you do have to jump through many hoops and reinvent yourself. This is as straightforward as it gets. So I would just urge businesses this week, if they do nothing else, submit the application, get into the system. And honestly, we see as well, actually, with the counties that had additional restrictions over the last few weeks, and indeed Kildare as it is now, this is the mechanism that the government are using to come out with additional support. So regrettably, COVID-19 is still with us and will continue to be. And if we ever go down a road where we're impacted by restrictions, this is the mechanism by which funding will be administered. So it's so important people register, get onto that system, begin drawing this initial pot of funding, and I suspect over the coming year there will be more in the same guise.
All right, Kenny Deery, CEO of Galway Chamber, can be contacted on 091 563 536 for further details. 091 563 536.